Hi friends, this is your ANR sir, welcoming you to ANR Academy. Today we read the first lesson for plus 2 students. The name of the first lesson is the last lesson. The name of the first lesson is the last lesson, written by Alfonso Daudet. It is a very wonderful story. Once if you read this, you never forget. Alfonso was a French novelist and he wrote a number of short stories, and this last lesson is one of such short stories. The background for this story is France and Persian War, in which France had to surrender 2 districts to Persia. So what are those 2 districts? Alençon and Alsace and Lorraine. Alsace and Lorraine. So this story background is the district of Alsace. Clear? The Persian government passed a rule. What is that rule? French will not be taught from the next day onwards. So now let us read the story and understand what was the effect of this on the people of that district Alsace. So here the narrator, I started for school very late that morning and was in great dread of scolding, especially because M. Hamel had said that he would question on the participles. So who is M. Hamel? M. Hamel is the teacher. M. Hamel is the teacher. So the day the narrator was late and he is very much afraid of scolding. Not only that, the previous day the teacher asked all the children to read the rules of participles and to come. And unfortunately, the narrator says, I did not know the first word about them. That means he didn't read or he didn't understand single word about that. So immediately a thought has come to him. What is that? To run away, not to go to school, to abscond from the school, to bunk the school. Understood? For a moment, I thought of running away and spending the day out of doors. It was so warm, so bright. The birds were chirping at the end of the woods. And in the open field back of the sawmill, the Persian soldiers were drilling. It was all much more tempting than the rule for participles. But I had the strength to resist and hurried off to school. You see? One thing, something was tempting the narrator to avoid going to school. What is that? Outside it was very warm and the day was very bright and the birds were chirping in the woods. In the woods means what? In the forest. Lot of trees are there. So all these are tempting the narrator to avoid going to school. But one thing forced him to register all these things. What is that? The teacher's punishment. The teacher is very strict. So whatever punishment he would give, that registered the narrator from avoiding to go to school. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. What is this bulletin board? Notice board. So in front of the town hall, there is a notice board. A question may be asked about this. So they receive all good news and bad news. And nowadays, for last 2 years, they were receiving all bad news about the loss of battles, the draft, the orders of commanding officer, all these things they receive. And a number of people got assembled there, and they were what? Watching something there, reading something. When I passed the town hall, there was a crowd in front of the bulletin board. For the last 2 years, all our bad news had come from the board. The lost battles, the draft, the orders of the commanding officer. And I thought to myself without stopping, what can be the matter now? What can be the matter now? So the narrator got confused, wanted to know, but that force didn't allow him to stop there. Then I hurried by as fast as I could. The blacksmith watcher who was there with his apprentice. Apprentice means who? The assistant, reading the bulletin. So the blacksmith and his assistant both were there in front of that notice board, and they were reading. And he called, "Don't go so fast, Bob. You will get to your school in plenty of time." That means he was making fun of the narrator. I thought he was making fun of me and reached all out of breath. That means without taking any breath, he ran for the school. So now, a number of strange events he started facing. Usually, when the school began, there was a great bustle. Bustle means what? Lot of movement, lot of noise and everything. Children moving in the class, children opening the doors, closing, everything, which could head out in the street. From a long distance, one could listen all these things. The opening and closing of desks, lessons repeated in unison. That means, you see, it is a primary section, primary school. So all the children at a time, they repeat what? Reading the lessons. Everything one could listen from a distance. With our hands or our ears to understand better, and the teacher's great ruler rapping on the table. From time to time, the teacher would hit on the table in order to make the children to keep quiet. All these things could be listened from a distance. But now, it was all so still. I had counted on the commotion to get to my desk without being seen. So, he used to take the advantage. He used to take the advantage of entering into the classroom in that confusion. Slowly used to enter and occupy his seat. Understood? But that day what happened? That entire school was as quiet as Sunday morning in the church. On every Sunday, all the people, they sit silently and pray God. So that day, the school was like a church. Through the window, I saw my classmates already in their places, and M. Hamel walking up and down with his terrible iron ruler. under his arm. Everything was very serious. All the children sat in their respective places. They opened their books and started reading very, very silently. And the teacher also very serious. So, in order to control himself, what he was doing, he was walking up and down, keeping the iron roller under his arm. I had to open the door and go before everybody. So now there is no option for the narrator. Previously, he used to enter into the classroom unnoticed. But that day, everything was silent. So now there is no other go for him. So he had to open the door and to enter before everybody. You can imagine how I blushed. So he got frightened. Suppose if the teacher would notice his late coming, he would punish. So there is no other go. So completely frightened, he entered. But nothing happened. M. Hamel saw me and said very kindly, "Go to your place quickly, little Franz. We are beginning without you." Now the narrator's name was given. Who is he? Franz. So now, very politely, the teacher M. Hamel asked Franz to enter and to occupy his seat. And he worried that without Franz's presence, he would teach lesson that day. So I jumped over the bench and sat down at my desk. Not till then. When I had got a little over my fright, did I see that our teacher had on his beautiful green coat, his frilled shirt and the little black silk cap, all embroidered, that he never wore except on inspection and prize days. So he controlled himself, got out of the fear and everything, and slowly he raised his head and looked at the teacher. That day the teacher wore some special dress. The dress usually he wore on some special occasions. He got surprised. What is the reason? So this is the second strange thing took place that day. What is the first thing? Everybody sat very silently in the class without making any noise and listening. Clear? So that was the second surprise. What was the second surprise? The teacher was in some ceremonial dress, some special dress. Not only that day he noticed third strange thing. What was that? The elders of that town were also present in the class. The elders of the town were also present in the class. Clear? Besides, the whole school remained so strange and solemn, very serious. But the thing that surprised me most was to see on the back benches that were always empty, the village people sitting quietly like ourselves. Old Hauser with his three-cornered cap, the former mayor, the former postmaster, all elderly people sat occupied the back benches. Everybody looked sad. And Hauser had brought an old primer. You see, they carried some books also. Hauser had brought an old primer. Old primer means what? The early book. That means your ABCD book, alphabet book. Thumbed at the edges. So he is feeling each and every page and held it open on his knees with his great spectacles lying across the pages, and he was reading, feeling very sad. And Franz got surprised why these elderly people occupied the last benches, and why did they bring primer book? Why do they look very sad? All these questions started worrying him. While I was wondering about it all, M. Hamel mounted his chair, and in the same grave and gentle tone which he had used to me, said, "My children, this is the last lesson." So very seriously, the teacher announced, for all these things, your Franz was not at all knowing all these things. "My children, this is the last lesson I shall give you. The order has come from Berlin to teach only German in the schools of Elsass and Lorraine. The new master comes tomorrow. This is your last French lesson. I want to be attentive." So this is the reason. This is the reason why the teacher was serious. This is the reason why a lot of people got assembled at that notice board. This is the reason why the elders occupied the back benches. This is the reason why the teacher wore the ceremonial dress. So, we stop our lesson here, and tomorrow we continue. I think you liked my teaching. So, do not forget to subscribe my channel. Thank you for watching, and have a nice day. Bye bye.